好，
Good morning, members. We have a quorum. I call to order the meeting of the Subcommittee on matters relating to facilitating quick integration of new migrant talents into Hong Kong. This is our 5th meeting. Today we are going to talk about the entrepreneurial and employment support for new immigrant talents. We have with us Mr. Ho Kai-ming, Undersecretary for Labor and Welfare, Ms. Anna Au, Deputy Director of Hong Kong Talent Engage, Mr. Arnold Lau, Associate Director General of Investment Promotion from Invest Hong Kong, Ms. Jane Chan, Head of Startups from Invest Hong Kong, Mr. Sunny Chan, Assistant Director General Industry Support from the TID Trade and Industry Department, we also have Mr. La Wai-ming, Assistant Commissioner for Innovation and Technology Quality Services, and Ms. Augusta Chung from the ITC Innovation and Technology Commission. Members who would like to speak, please press the button to request to speak. Please also declare your interest before you speak. We have LC paper number CB bracket 31085/202401 and 02. They set out the background of the topic being discussed today. Now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Ho, Undersecretary for Labor and Welfare, to walk us through the paper. Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad to walk members through the support provided for incoming talents from different departments. The Hong Kong Talent Engage was set up in October 2023. It has been providing one-stop support services for incoming talents. The online platform www.hongkongengage.gov.hk provides all-round information on living and working in Hong Kong to talent interested in coming to Hong Kong and those who have arrived. It shows over 5,100 real-time quality job opportunities for which talents can apply directly through the platform. Talents can also make inquiries and requests for support services from designated working partners on the platform. When necessary, the Hong Kong TE will refer the inquiries and support service requests to relevant bureaus or departments for follow-up. In 2024, the Talent Engage held a total of 8 online and offline job fairs involving more than 1,400 employers and more than 280,000 participation times. It has also hosted over 30 themed seminars for workshops covering job seeking, business, startup, education, accommodation, Cantonese learning, and so on. 9 of these themed seminars feature topics of INT prospect, business setup, and unlocking the job market. They provide opinions, and Hong Kong talents have been sharing in person their insights and experience in the entrepreneurial and business opportunities, business development and startup advice, Hong Kong job market trends, and job hunting skills. There is also support for personalized online career matching services, comprehensive career guidance, practical advice on resume writing, and job interview suggestions and techniques. In 2025, the Hong Kong TE will revamp its online platform with a new interface. It will provide prospective and newly arrived talents with more diverse, interactive, and practical information, including information on entrepreneurship and employment in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Talent Engage will also continue to expand its network of working partners and maintaining the number of working partners at no less than 90. It will also co-organize at least 12 job fairs with industries and employer organizations for employers. It plans to organize integration activities of 40 themed seminars workshops, including 12 activities on entrepreneurship and INT prospect and 9 industry-specific seminars pertaining to job seeking, practical information, and comprehensive support. The LD has been providing diversified and free employment services to job seekers. including job centers, industry-based recruitment centers, the Telephone Employment Service Center, and the IES, Interactive Employment Service website. The LD has also set up dedicated webpage on higher education employment and dedicated webpage for new arrivals from the mainland. There will be district-based and thematic job fairs organized by LD to enhance the dissemination of employment information. Invest Hong Kong, the Trade and Industry Department, and the ITC also provide diversified employment and entrepreneurship services to talents arriving into Hong Kong. We aim to help talents to start a business in Hong Kong that can ensure the long-term development in Hong Kong. Detailed information has been set out in our information paper. The LWB will continue to work with different departments and bureaus to enhance services provided to talents in relation to entrepreneurship. I and my colleagues are willing to take members' questions. Thank you, Mr. Ho. In the first round, we have Dr. Johnny Ng, Mr. Lam Chen Sing, Dr. Tan Yue Hang, Mr. Ring Kong, and me, myself. For those who haven't yet pressed the button to request to speak, please do so as soon as possible. We have sufficient time, so I'll give 6 minutes to each member, questions and answers included. Dr. Johnny Ng, please. Thank you, Chairman. Today we're going to talk about the employment and entrepreneurial services provided to new immigrant talents. New immigrants are high-caliber talents. As the Undersecretary said, we need to provide services to them, and that will solve many of their problems. I have questions on two fronts. They may not be under the purview of the Policy Bureau today, but I'd like to express my views. In relation to the Top Talent Pass Scheme, TTPS, the applicants will have to renew their visa within 2 years. When they set up business in Hong Kong, they start a new company. When they apply for renewal on visas, they are worried that when their companies are new, they may not be able to renew their visas for staying in Hong Kong. This may not be under the purview of the policy bureaus we have with us today. Talents need to create a bank account after setting up a new company in Hong Kong. The procedures are very complicated and they are time-consuming. The process involves rigorous application procedures as well as vetting procedures. Comparing with neighboring cities and regions, our requirements are much more rigorous. This may affect the impression given to new immigrant talents. Do we really welcome them to come to Hong Kong? In relation to visa renewal question, I'll give the floor to Mr. Ho, Undersecretary. I will also invite colleagues from the Hong Kong TE to give us more information in relation to the question asked by Dr. Johnny Ng. Regarding visa renewal requirements, they are close to the heart of many new talents. There are no black and white requirements. We take into account the special circumstances of different applications. Our frontline colleagues can discriminate bogus cases and those that are not bogus. As long as talents are recognized to be running a business in Hong Kong, then the Immigration Department will approve the visa renewal applications. Well, we welcome talents to report on cases that involve a guarantee that their renewal applications will definitely be approved. The relevant talents can report such cases to the Immigration Department. And talent engage. Thank you, Undersecretary. When new immigrant talents have come to Hong Kong, whenever they have any day-to-day issues, such as starting a bank account, we welcome them to get in touch with us. We'll try our best to provide assistance. Some talents related to us, they had much cash with them while opening a bank account. Indeed, the banks will tread very cautiously in this case. In contrast, when they go to a bank to open a new bank account, just like an ordinary citizen in Hong Kong without much cash with them, then the process might not be as complicated. Talents can reach out to us whenever they have any issues in this regard. Some of our working partners are banks and will directly refer their cases to our working partners that are banks. We'll try to see how we can help them. Dr. Johnny Ng, some follow-up. Well, I'd like to supplement. Invest Hong Kong provides assistance through a wide array of services, one of which is in relation to bank account services. When they run into difficulties in opening a bank account, we'll try our best to help them. First of all, they will have to prepare a lot of documentations. Some of them reported issues to us, but then we found that the problems were that they didn't submit sufficient papers. Hong Kong is an international financial center, so they should have prepared enough papers or documentations. We'll directly liaise with banks to see if we can help these applicants to solve the problems when they have already submitted enough papers and application documentations. Dr. Johnny Ng. When I started business, I didn't have much business receipt in the first year. It might be difficult to provide evidence in relation to business receipt. Those who have experience in running a business understand it is not at all easy to provide business transaction records. We need to see if these talents would really want to start a business and develop it in Hong Kong. Mr. Ho, in the investigation of the Immigration Department, we welcome talents to share the entire story with the Immigration Department. They shouldn't think that as long as they can pass a certain threshold, then their visa renewal will definitely be given the green light. This is not the case. Some applicants prepare a business proposal. When you explain the entire story and the proposal to the colleague, then they will consider approving the applications. Next, Mr. Lam Chun Seng. Thank you, Chairman. The paper provides a lot of information on employment support services, but they aren't targeted enough. You simply provide a summary of all the services provided by different departments. You even provided information in relation to employment services provided by the Labor Department. As I understand, the Labor Department provides services to general job seekers. It supports the disadvantaged and grassroots in Hong Kong. Say the LD has employment services center or recruitment centers in relation to the construction industry or F&B industry. You don't actually expect talents to work in these industry. They aren't looking for jobs in these sectors either. So I think you should undertake some studies to see which industries are interested in taking on talents having come to Hong Kong, or how much they're willing to pay in order to hire these high caliber talents who have arrived in Hong Kong. Do you have any findings of these studies? Have you had? You would find it easier to provide job referral services. You can also provide information at an earlier stage. You don't have to wait until these talents have arrived in Hong Kong before you provide these services. If you provided these pieces of information earlier, then talents would have access to such information earlier. For specialized talents, say environmental protection talents, they may have heard that Hong Kong attaches a lot of importance to environmental protection, waste charging, and so on. But then when they arrived in Hong Kong, they knew that it wasn't necessarily the case. You may provide information to them before they arrive in Hong Kong, so at an earlier stage, for those who have an interest in applying for the TTPS, then they'll have information earlier. Next, in the paper, not just the Hong Kong talent engage, you said that you would also seek the assistance from companies in the private sector to provide employment services, such as recruitment platforms and employment agencies. You may get in touch with these working partners to identify the reasons why these top talents who have arrived in Hong Kong fail to secure a job after a few job interviews. What are the problems? Is it the case that top talents need to take care of their children when they have arrived in Hong Kong, so they are looking for flexi hours? When you have these figures and statistics, then you can provide employment services in a more targeted manner. Earlier on, there were websites teaching top talents to start their business so they can apply for the Bud Fund as well as tech vouchers. Have you conducted any study or compiled any statistics? How many talents have made such applications after they heard these information? When too many top talents make such applications, will they drain the financial resources of the fund? Will the local SMEs not have any resources as a result? You can look into the situation and see how many TTPS applicants have made applications for such funds. Thank you.
Secretary, 3 questions. For the third question, I'll ask my colleague to respond. Let's see, Ms. Au could respond to the question about working partners. I'd like to clarify that the IES website from the Labor Department, it offers a comprehensive service for grassroots workers, such as cleaning workers to university students. According to my experience, some of my assistants were hired without administration fees. So this is not just a service for grassroots workers. Instead, it provides comprehensive services for all people. That's why we have colleagues from the Labor Department here, so I hope you don't have a bias about the services offered by the Labor Department. We offer job information to migrant talents. If you go to the dedicated website for migrant talents, if you use the filtering function, there are also positions suitable for migrant talents. So I believe this is a platform for employers and employees to look for what they want. On the point about headhunters and the information provided by them, on the HKTE website, we provide a one-stop support service. For each job type, we offer a salary range on the website. There's also information about job vacancies. There's a talent list on the website. We need talents for developing 8 centers, as well as for the 9 strategic sectors. There is information about these. Migrant talents can visit our website, and they can learn about the job situation or market for each of these sectors. We hope that talents from the mainland can learn more about the local job market. So we're trying to step up publicity. We have worked with different recruitment platforms on the mainland. And through these platforms, as well as different social media platforms and other channels, we want to publicize the HKTE website so that people on the mainland can learn about the job situation in Hong Kong. Our talent admission schemes do not only target talents from the mainland. Yes, we also have information for overseas talents. It's just that Mr. Lam asked whether we would work with the mainland authorities to publicize our services and website. The third question is about talents applying for BUD fund as well as tech vouchers. On entrepreneurial support, Invest Hong Kong has come across different types of talents, and we introduced to them the different types of funding schemes available. They encounter challenges in the following areas. For example, they have difficulties in looking for investors. There are different services provided by Invest Hong Kong that they find helpful, such as the matching services. We demonstrate to startup businesses the potential investors they can reach out to. Also, we try to expand the network of the working partners or clients that they may reach out to. Also, we hold conferences as well as themed seminars and talks so that they can reach out to the potential clients and investors. Also, we try to look for resources for talents. For example, they may join incubators or accelerators that could help them expand their businesses. Also, we offer matching services between talents as well as startups in Hong Kong that can help them boost their R&D capacities. So apart from introducing to talents what kind of funding schemes are available, we also offer the above-mentioned services, which they find very helpful. I've just one point to add. Yes, Mr. Lam? I hope in the future you could carry out a study on how many talents actually apply for these funds. Also, I don't have a bias on the services provided by the Labor Department. I went to the LD website myself. I see that there are positions that offer $15,000 a month. And all these require high educational attainment. I just hope that these services can be more focused or rolled out in a targeted manner for migrant talents. TID, anything to add? That was mentioned about the bus fund. The funding schemes rolled out by the TID is to help companies to go global. So companies can apply for these funds. Instead, we do not allow individuals to apply for these funds, so we don't have the relevant statistics about application numbers. That was mentioned about whether there is a lack of resources for migrant talents. Well, applicants have to meet all the requirements in order to obtain the fund. In order to use public funds prudently, we have a set of procedures to vet all the applications. Say migrant talents who run business in Hong Kong, they can apply for the funds. We also vet the applications prudently so that we don't put resources to waste. Some other members have pressed the request to speak button. They are Dr. Tan Yueheng, Ms. Doreen Kong, Mr. Chen Xiuhong, Mr. Kwok Wai Keng, Mr. Michael Lee, and myself, Dr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you, Chairman. We're discussing the entrepreneurial and employment support for new migrant talents. I support these services. Immigrant talents have to secure a job in order to ensure stable living in Hong Kong. We target top talents under the Top Talent Pass scheme, so theoretically speaking, they should be able to secure jobs in Hong Kong easily. However, even we have a new caliber talent who comes to Hong Kong, he or she will need support and information in order to find a job. The Hong Kong Talent Engage, the Trade and Industry Department, the Invest Hong Kong, as well as the Labor Department, have provided a wide range of services. We have 180,000 talents, and we have some 80,000 top talents who have come under the Top Talent Pass scheme. As at January 2023, about 54% of the talents have secured a job in Hong Kong. From October 2023 to present, these 54% of talents have secured a job. That means there are still some 40% of the incoming talents who had not secured a job. Also, there might be a structural problem. We need to bring in talents. However, are we bringing in the right type of talents? Are they finding the job in their expertise area? We might have brought in new caliber talents, but they might not be able to play up to their potentials here. Are we able to let these talents, based on their needs as well as the needs of the city, find a job? We have different talent admission schemes, and the Top Talent Pass scheme has been launched for about 2 years now. Same for the Quality Migrant Admission Scheme. For Cat B and Cat C talents, they are about to renew their visas under the Top Talent Pass scheme. The government is facing tight public finances. We all care about how to cut back on spending. Against this backdrop, should we adopt a targeted approach? Should we look at specifically which sectors in Hong Kong that require talents, and we can bring in talents based on the needs of these sectors, and offer entrepreneurial and employment support for new talents accordingly? It's not that we should trawl for all kinds of talents because there is a lack of resources and we are tight on budget. If we do not adopt a targeted approach, then we're not making good use of our resources. And this might defeat the original purpose of bringing in talents. Should we impose certain requirements in the next stage as we continue to bring in talents? We should perhaps lower some of the thresholds to bring in professional talents. For some industries, there is an oversupply of talents, and for those industries, we might want to enhance the threshold. Then we can make better use of our resources.
Mr. Ho, thank you, Chairman. We agree with Dr. Tan Yueheng. Job hunting for new immigrant talents involves different aspects. 54% of the talents have secured a job after half a year of arriving into Hong Kong. When we have further information, we'll share with the Council. I'll let Ms. Anna Au speak on the employment services. I thank Dr. Tan for talking about resources. The government hasn't spent a huge amount of resources on the TTPS. We'll explore how we can tour for talents in a specific area. I'll give the floor to Deputy Director on Job Matching Services. Thank you. On a regular basis, we hold talks, seminars, and so on. We focus on some industries, say INT, financial services, education sector. In relation to publicity efforts, when talents arrive in Hong Kong, how do they know what kind of talents we are looking for? In our global efforts in relation to trawling for talents, we focus on different fields. Earlier on, we went to the UK. We asked talents who arrived from UK to Hong Kong to go to the UK to share their stories. They share what kind of talents are the most suitable in Hong Kong. That will give prospective applicants an idea of the employment situation in Hong Kong. Through publicity efforts, we aim to let applicants know in advance what talents Hong Kong needs. So when they arrive in Hong Kong, they'll have a better picture, and we will also have different activities to help them. Then they'll have a better picture of what kind of talents we need in Hong Kong. Any more follow-up? Dr. Tan Yue-heng, do you have any follow-up? No, thank you. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ride on Dr. Tan Yue-heng's point. Different talent admission schemes have been in place for a period of time. It's time we conducted a review. When talents met certain requirements, we welcome these talents to come to Hong Kong. So what is the problem? Some talents come to Hong Kong together with their family members. Their expertise matches the A-centrist position of Hong Kong. Some talents keep looking for jobs, but then they are let down. And when they cannot secure a job, the government asks them to go away, to leave Hong Kong just because they fail to secure a job in Hong Kong. This will leave a bad taste in their mouth. They won't come to Hong Kong again. So it's time we took stock of the situation to see if we can provide ancillary measures. We can provide online interviews for these talents before they arrive in Hong Kong. Say they can fly to Hong Kong to have a job interview. So they won't have to be let down when they come to Hong Kong together with their family members, but then they find that they cannot secure a job. Regarding my next question, some talents have come to Hong Kong together with their spouse. Both of them are professionals. They cannot secure a job even for 2 to 3 years. That is due to job mismatch. They don't necessarily secure a job fast. But then on some occasions, the spouse of the incoming talents have been able to secure a job. Is there any mechanism to allow the talents to continue to stay in Hong Kong when their spouse has secured a job in Hong Kong? Will we give these talents some points? Otherwise, that would create significant problems when the children of the talents are required to leave Hong Kong as well. Some talents have secured a contract of 1 year or 2 years with a company. 2 years later, when they wish to apply for visa renewal, the existing mechanism is that for short-term contracts, visa renewal will only last up to the end of the contract. So upon the termination of a short-term contract, should we allow a certain period of time, say a few years or a few months, to allow the talents to continue to look for a job? These talents have already got used to the life in Hong Kong. They have developed an affection for Hong Kong. They want to stay in Hong Kong, but then we're driving them away after they have completed a short-term contract. Well, I think the administration should take stock of the policies it has. You need to discuss it with different companies, different organizations. I understand that some organizations would like to retain these talents. We need to give certainty to applicants. 2 questions, Mr. Ho. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for your questions. One of the strengths of the TTPS is that employers don't have to go through complicated procedures before they can take on a talent. Companies can apply for a work visa for the talents that they'd like to hire after online interviews. Why are TTPS more popular? Why is the scheme more popular? Except large companies aren't very much well versed in recruiting overseas employees. Only 10% of the companies have experience of hiring overseas workers. The vast majority of companies have experience in engaging locals only. Employers don't have to go through complicated procedures if they take on local workers. The TTPS is convenient. The application period is quite stable. Applicants can obtain a visa within 3 weeks. Between 3 weeks and a month, a visa application can be granted. In relation to spouse, if the spouse of the applicants also meets the requirement of applying for TTPS, the couple can together apply for TTPS. If the spouse of the applicant of the TTPS isn't an eligible applicant under the TTPS, at present we don't have any mechanism suitable for such situations. We need to protect local workers. We'll continue to review our schemes. There's no perfect practice, but from time to time we'll see how we can strike the best balance. Well, Chairman, he hasn't yet answered my question in relation to short-term contracts. When applicants come to Hong Kong for the first time, you give them 3 years for them to look for a job. Upon the termination of a short-term contract, will you also give them some more time to look for another job instead of the end of the short-term contract? It's all about policy balance as well. For general employment policies or general work visas, employers take on workers for a short period of time. No, I'm not referring to these cases. When talents come to Hong Kong, they have secured a job, but for some reasons, the company only signs a short-term contract, say a 2-year contract with the talent. But then upon the end of the short-term contract, when it is not renewed, the existing policy is that applicants will only be allowed to stay in Hong Kong until the end of the short-term contract. If they cannot secure a job, they will be asked to leave Hong Kong. But these talents have come to Hong Kong. They have developed an affection for Hong Kong. They have got used to life in Hong Kong. Their dependents or children are staying in Hong Kong. The children are studying in Hong Kong. This is the so-called stickiness. It is a great shame if these talents are told to leave Hong Kong after a period of time.
When you renew your visa, you should have been able to secure a job. It's that simple. If you lose your job, whether because you are fired or because your contract expired, when your visa has to be renewed, then I believe you have to leave Hong Kong because otherwise it would be unfair to other talents. I believe the immigration department will, based on the different circumstances, make adjustment. I'm just saying whether you can adopt a more humanized approach. Could you give more care to these new immigrant talents? They might have entered into a short-term contract, and even after their short-term contract expires, they might want to stay in Hong Kong. It's just that you should allow them to stay here for a few more months so that they can look for another job. You want them to treat Hong Kong as their home, right? Riding on Mr. Chan's questions, I want to say that it is time for a lot of the new immigrant talents to renew their visas. A lot of them have already secured a job, but it is not a long-term contract, and their contract will expire at a certain point of time. Some problems may arise. For example, talents might struggle to stay in Hong Kong, and also if you renew their visas indefinitely, it might cost a lot of public money. Also, some employers may limit the benefits that these talents are able to receive or shorten their contract period because of all the potential issues that may come up. I hope the Labor and Welfare Bureau as well as the Immigration Department can pay attention to this. Well, I myself am not on a long-term contract, so I do not have to renew a visa, of course. I believe talents are responsible, however, for managing their own situations. I believe the immigration talent, where appropriate, would make a decision. Ms. Doreen Kong. We offer help to new immigrant talents to secure a job that's suitable for them, and we need to adopt a targeted approach. If there is a mismatch, then talents won't be able to secure a job that's suitable for them, and they won't be able to live up to the status as a top talent. And they will end up being a non-talent in Hong Kong. My first question is about the online platform of the Hong Kong Talent Engage. According to the paper, the online platform features over 5,000 real-time quality job opportunities daily. Well, don't forget that these 5,000 some job opportunities are displayed on the HKTE platform. In the previous meeting, I already pointed out that we need to adopt a targeted approach. You cannot feature or display any job opportunities without taking into consideration the need of talents. For example, you want to look for an athletic coach. You want to look for a vice manager to run a clubhouse for a housing estate. You need a property manager. I'm not saying that these positions aren't important. What I want to say is that we have brought in thousands of talents to Hong Kong. They have very good work experience. However, are these positions suitable for these talents? Have we filtered the positions displayed on the online platform? I'm worried that these positions do not match the needs as well as the qualifications of the new immigrant talents. Can the administration tell us how it can ensure that the jobs displayed on the online platform of the HKTE can actually match the needs of the new immigrant talents. Also, according to the paper, the HKTE has organized a lot of job fairs as well as seminars. It's great that it's been holding job fairs and seminars. However, I want to know whether these events have yielded results. I'm not asking for the number of participants to gauge whether these events and activities are effective. I want to know how effective are these events? How many new immigrant talents have, through these events, identified the right job positions, and whether employers have, through these events, identified the right employees or right talents to fill the positions. Also, have you followed up on whether these talents have been able to stay in these positions? Mr. Ho. As mentioned in the previous meeting, we have filtered some of the positions before we displayed them on the online platform. Say, athletic coach or property manager. Are they junior positions? Well, we'll have to look at the relevant details to confirm that. But we have already filtered the information before we displayed the positions on the platform. I believe the coach that you mentioned about is a high-level job. However, we will look at how we can review and enhance the functions of our online platform. The other question is about whether our events have yielded results. The HKTE, for example, in last May organized our own event, and for the other job fairs, we organized those together with other organizations, including the association to which the chairman belongs to. We don't have the relevant information about how many applications the employers who joined this event received. The next time we organize the same events, we might consider collecting such information. As for the other co-organized events, we'll see if the co-organizer would be willing to share this information with us. Ms. Kong asked about the 5,000 some quality job opportunities featured on the online platform. I care about what these positions are. Currently, about 1,400 are viewing the online platform as well as our meeting. Some ask if talents aren't able to renew their visa, it means that the talent engaged isn't being a good gatekeeper. We can't say for sure whether a talent will be able to secure a renewed visa or not. We have to look at whether the position secured matches the experience or background of the talent. Say, a PhD talent may have to meet a different requirement, but they at least will have to meet the salary requirement. Well, Mr. Chan and Ms. Doreen Kong asked similar questions. You have to filter these jobs before you display them on the outline platform. You have to decide whether there will be competition between the locals as well as talents for these jobs. Mr. Kwok Wai Keung. Thank you, Chairman. We have to take into consideration the needs for our economic transformation as the government comes up with its talent policies. Each talent has his or her own consideration. As mentioned, these high-end talents are supposed to be very capable, and they're supposed to be able to manage their own situation. However, no matter how capable you are, when you go to a new place, you have to have time to establish your own network. If they get support, it will definitely facilitate them to achieve this. And in this regard, I believe the government can do more. Some members asked about how the administration can assess the effectiveness of the job fairs. Of course, if you get 50-some% of the talents who manage to secure a job through these events, it's great. The government has brought in different types of talents. Whether these talents can all secure a job they want, we can't say for sure. What matters is that we can show to the public that we are sincere to bring in new talents. According to the paper, the government has done a lot of work. However, there seems to be a lack of a targeted approach or a lack of focus. In Finland, there is a 90-day program. There is cultural exchange for those who are interested in going to Finland. There are also immersive programs for those who want to go there. I think we should have something similar. Of course, for those elites and capable, they can of course have their own exchange with the locals in relation to job opportunities in Hong Kong. However, these programs can help broaden new talents' horizons. AI and quantum computing are some of the cutting-edge areas in Finland. Semiconductor, cybersecurity, and AI are all the cutting edges of Finland. They talk about their strengths and advantages. It's great that they can retain talents through these programs, but even if they can't, they can at least show to these potential talents their strengths. So we can learn from this practice. I think we should take every opportunity to promote Hong Kong, and this could be beneficial to both Hong Kong and the potential as well as incoming talents. Chairman, I just want to say that the government should seize the opportunity to do all these. The government is currently just coping. We should be more thoughtful if we want to bring in talents. I see this as a comment or a suggestion. Any reply? The 90-day Fin program is similar to the Top Talent Pass scheme. We adopt the same concept. We want people to come and experience Hong Kong. It is not a 90-day program. It is a 2-year scheme. However, talents after having worked in Hong Kong for 2 years, we want to review whether they are still eligible to stay in Hong Kong. It's just like the 90-day Fin program. They want to see whether the incoming talents are eligible to stay there. We have the INT development blueprint. We also have other strengths. We will, of course, introduce them to the new immigrant talents. We also encourage them to take up voluntary work so that they can have a closer tie with the local community. We should focus on the problems that Finland encountered after the 90-day program. Mr. Kwok said the current threshold is rather low. But we will screen the talents at some point. We will be the gatekeeper in this regard to ensure a stable development of the local market, and at the same time, people can have a good impression of the city. Thank you.
Mr. Lee Chen-kung. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to write on other members' questions. When new talents arrived in Hong Kong, they may have given up on their residency in their own country. They come to Hong Kong to look for a job. Their purpose is to have permanent residency in Hong Kong. One of the requirements is the long-term residence in Hong Kong. Of course, there's relaxation in relation to the requirement to apply for extended stay. Some mainland media outlets point out that some applicants have been asked to leave Hong Kong and return to mainland after a period of time. The crux of the matter is to help these group of people. They have passion to come to Hong Kong for development. But you need to give them a period of time to develop their career in Hong Kong. They need to get used to the life in Hong Kong. If they need to look for another company, how are you helping them? We have the online platform on the Hong Kong Talent Engage, hongkongengage.gov.hk. Have you taken a look at the website? It provides different information. They share stories, job opportunities, and so on. As other members have said, these new talents may find that they don't have the assistance they need. When they arrive in Hong Kong and when they fail to get a job, they may find that their talents are not treasured. How can we make good use of the talents that have come to Hong Kong? We need to ponder over this issue. What do they want to do in Hong Kong? Why do they come to Hong Kong? And what can Hong Kong offer them? We need to think about all these aspects. Under Secretary, thank you, Mr. Lee, for your views. Well, I'd like to emphasize that an applicant does not have to give up on his or her residency when they apply for the TTPS. They only need to give up on their residency if they wish to have permanent residency in Hong Kong. Then they'll have to stay in Hong Kong for 7 years. The design of the scheme is not to allow all applicants to be able to stay in Hong Kong after they have been approved to come to Hong Kong. We bank on employers to shortlist or to select employees that want to stay in Hong Kong. We think that this mechanism is sustainable and effective. Hong Kong people don't have this expectation either. When these talents come to Hong Kong, they are no different from ordinary Hong Kong people. Hong Kong people don't expect us to provide for these talents either. So that's our overall policy. I'd like to follow up. Thank you, Undersecretary, for your explanation. Well, Undersecretary, you were a legislator, and then you have now become an Undersecretary. In relation to the requirement of living in Hong Kong, this may give them an impression that, well, they might as well not come to Hong Kong. The Little Red Book, Douyin, these are mainland media platforms. Can we conduct more publicity activities? Can we let these talents know we welcome you to come to Hong Kong? But you can give them more information about Hong Kong. They can secure a job first before coming to Hong Kong. We can conduct online recruitment, online interviews. They can come to Hong Kong by virtue of a visa. You need to tell them clearly the procedures so that they won't feel that they don't have any assistance in Hong Kong, and whenever they cannot secure a job, they will be asked to leave Hong Kong and return to their original country. I'd like to clarify in relation to the amount of 2 million, we don't have this requirement as to filing tax returns of $2.5 million. Category A refers to the annual salary of $2 million. Regarding Category B and Category C, graduates of the world's top 100 universities can come to Hong Kong. There is no requirement in relation to the tax amount of $2.5 million. Of course, the payment of tax proves that one has engaged in economic activities in Hong Kong. Next, Mr. Benson Lok. In relation to support services, the paper mentions a lot in this regard, but I'm more concerned about the effectiveness. I'd like to talk about startup situation. Some people who would like to start a company have gone to the mainland for better development in relation to starting a business. Invest Hong Kong or the TID listed information about employment services. However, from the perspective of policy effectiveness, do applicants know how many talents have come to Hong Kong and successfully started a business? They don't have a good idea about the numbers of the talents who have secured an employment in Hong Kong. Financing environment, bond issuance, and so on. We need to share success stories. We need to give them figures. So I'd like to know if the administration has the relevant figures. Some new arrivals related to me that they need business registration and the application procedure is fast. You need just a few hours or a few days in order to obtain a business registration. Next, for renting office, that's convenient as well. Opening a bank account is very difficult comparing with the previous two factors. It may take up to half a month or a whole month to open a bank account, although in some banks the procedures are not as complicated. I'd like to know whether there are any special measures in relation to opening a bank account for SMEs. Is there any special way for you to provide assistance to companies or enterprises that like to open a bank account? In relation to figures, the most accurate figures lie in the visa renewal figures. Those figures are the most accurate. So sometime later, we'll conduct a study to see whether these people stay in Hong Kong for their original employment or for starting a new business. Only 1,000 responses we have received out of tens of thousands of questionnaires we have sent. Mr. La Weiming, as at the end of 2024, we just announced in Hong Kong, there were a total of 4,694 startups. Over 70% are locals, 28% non-locals. 40% of them come from the mainland, followed by the US, France, Australia, and so on. People from these companies come to Hong Kong to start a business as well. As we mentioned, we provide a wide array of services. For those who would like to start business, they need to seek funding. This is a hurdle for them, and we are providing services and assistance. The other challenge is cost. Cost in relation to accommodation and that in relation to office premises. We also help them to find clients, research and development partners, and so on. We provide a lot of services in these areas. Starting up a business always entails risks. There is no guarantee for success. We provide these services in the hope that they will succeed, but they'll have to understand that there are risks, and there are also examples in which there is failure in relation to starting up a business. If we can provide information in relation to starting a business to the association set up by the chairman, that will be helpful in relation to financing, startup ideas, opening a bank account, and so on. Investors may not proceed with a plan if it takes several months for them to open a bank account. Today, 2 members mentioned the difficulty in opening a bank account for startups. Can the Labor and Welfare Bureau and the Hong Kong Talent Engage strike a balance in this regard? Can you help these talents to open a bank account? Thank you.
Ms. Carmen Khan. Thank you, Chair. I'm the Supervisory Chief of the Hong Kong Top Talent Services Association. I'd like to give out some positive messages. I know that a lot of talents are viewing this meeting online. This current term government in the 2024 policy address puts a lot of emphasis on how to help talents. Therefore, it is setting up the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents. In the past 2 years, we saw the establishment of several talent admission schemes, including the Top Talent Pass scheme. The government understands well where the challenges lie. Therefore, we need to make good use of the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents to help new immigrant talents to renew visas as well as stay in Hong Kong. I think what the government needs to do is to give enough explanation about the visa renewal. According to the administration, it's going to look at this on a case-by-case basis. It seems like there isn't a set of established requirements. For those who care about renewing the visas, I believe they want a clearer message. For example, the administration said if talents only secure a short-term contract, and if you only renew their visas up to when the contracts expire, this would not be desirable. It could be possible that the employer would like to renew the contract with the talent every year. In this case, it doesn't mean that the talent fails to secure a long-term contract. I want to know what the administration has to say about this. Also, you're all hard-working officials. You're from the Talent Engage, the Trade and Industry Department, the Labor Department, as well as the Innovation, Technology and Industry Bureau. What do you think the greatest needs are for the talents from your perspectives? According to my observation, there are talents looking for jobs and also employers looking for talents to fill the vacancies. So my first question is about the visa renewal, and secondly, in relation to what I said about talents looking for jobs and employers looking for talents, well, can the government be the super connector in this regard? You should carry out survey to understand better the needs of talents. Your previous questionnaires are quite general. You asked them about their living conditions and so on. I believe in terms of the skill set of talents as well as the supply of jobs for talents, you have to understand more. We have different employers associations as well as business chambers and organizations in Hong Kong. Have you reached out to members of these organizations to understand the needs of employers and talents? You should reach out to, for example, the Employers Federation of Hong Kong to ensure that there won't be any mismatches between jobs and talents. Mr. Ho, I thank Carmen Khan for the questions, and I thank her for summarizing the work that we have done. Indeed, we have faced challenges. We have to take into consideration the economic development in Hong Kong as well as the needs of talents. We will try our best. Our positioning has changed over the past year. According to the third plenary session, we are now a hub for international high-caliber talent. So we need leaders who can make use of different platforms to achieve this goal. I'll invite Ms. Au to respond to your questions. On the messages to be passed on to the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents, I think we need to check the accounts of the businesses set up by talents. We're not imposing a threshold. We just want to make sure that talents are running a real business in Hong Kong. And in order to prove that there are different ways to do that, for a university graduate, he or she can look for a job that matches his or her background. And for an entrepreneur, we need the entrepreneur to show that he or she is running a real business in Hong Kong. It's as simple as that. Let's see if Ms. Au has anything to add. I thank Ms. Carmen Khan for the questions. When a talent renews his visa, we look at when the contract ends to decide when the visa will expire. Like the Undersecretary said, say a talent knows that his contract is about to expire and he might want to make use of the time remaining to secure a job. He may also ask the immigration department to exercise discretion or lenience to extend his stay in Hong Kong. How about the question about whether you reach out to the Federation of Employers in advance before they set up a booth in, for example, a job fair? This year, we will hold 12 job fairs. It is also mentioned in the policy address that for the job fairs to be organized this year, we will reach out to the Employers Federation of Hong Kong in advance so that we can adopt a more targeted approach. We are reaching out to members of the Employers Federation of Hong Kong as well as employers from different sectors and some professional bodies. As we are holding job fairs for different industries, we want talents to be better prepared. We also want the employers to be better prepared. Let me add one point. Ms. Au was talking about the job fairs to be organized by the HKTE. The Labor Department, on the other hand, holds district-based and thematic job fairs every month. So there are job fairs every month, so I hope people can take the initiative to visit these job fairs to tap the pulse of the local job market. Apart from the Hong Kong Talent Engage as well as the Labor Department, I believe that Invest Hong Kong can be aware that there is a huge demand for new immigrant talents to look for jobs. Mr. Tang Fei, I have two questions. The first one is rather straightforward. Around the end of last year, it was announced that 4 of the universities will no longer meet the applications for Category B and C talent under the Top Talent Pass scheme. Some Chinese scholars asked why. One of the universities is quite renowned, including the one in France. I believe the government will have to explain more why these 4 universities are excluded from the list of universities under the Top Talent Pass scheme. So this is a technical question about, for example, why Université Paris-Sud was excluded. Also, my second question is about whether the government can release the relevant figures in terms of how many visas fail to be renewed. You don't have to disclose the personal information about these talents. simply tell us why these talents fail to meet the requirements and thus their visas aren't renewed. I think this is a piece of very important reference information for those who are interested in coming to Hong Kong, so that they know whether they want to come if they cannot meet the requirements, and that we won't waste their time as well as our resources. Can you release the relevant information? I'm not too worried that employers fail to find talents to fill their vacancies. I've talked to some Chinese talents who come to Hong Kong. What I understand is that if there is a need for employer to look for a talent, and if the talent is capable of looking for the right information, there shouldn't be a mismatch between jobs and talents. Rather, my concern is that after you've reviewed your policy, please release the number of talents who fail to have their visas renewed and the reasons behind. The market needs to have this information. 2 questions. One about how you came up with the list of university under the Top Talent Pass scheme, and the other question about visa renewal. Mr. Ho, over the past 5 years, if you appear in one of the 4 top 100 world universities ranking, then you'll be able to be included in our list. For those that are removed, I believe over the past 5 years, they haven't appeared in the 4 major top 100 world universities ranking. So for those in the margin, they might have to be removed. For the university in France that was mentioned, I think there was a merger and it was a special case. Perhaps after the merger, the management can apply to be included in the list. In relation to the question about mismatch between jobs and talents, well, we believe that talents are capable of securing a job themselves. Of course, there are recruitment platforms as well as employment agencies that help talents to look for the jobs they want. Mr. Tang, any follow-up questions? Well, my suggestion is to publish the reasons why some talents fail to have their visas renewed. Well, we'll talk to the Immigration Department about this. The Labor and Welfare Bureau will have to analyze why talents aren't able to renew their visas. This is important for talents who might want to come to Hong Kong. I will extend this meeting for no more than 10 minutes because I have some questions for the administration as well. I declare that I am the founding president of the Top Talent Services Association. I have 4 questions. The first is about the employment rate. Over the past 3 years, according to the LWB, the employment rate is about 2.9 to 3.1%. According to the government, 240,000 talent visas have been issued. Of them, 170,000 talents have come to Hong Kong. If their spouses are considered to be part of the working population, well, have you included them into your statistics? Because I see that there's some mismatch in terms of the figures. 170,000 people have come to Hong Kong. Including their spouses, there should be 300,000 people who have come to Hong Kong, and they might all need a job. According to the government, 54% have already secured a job. I'm not talking about all talents, I'm talking about top talent as well as the quality migrant talent. Well, according to your figures, at least 100,000 talents are still waiting to find a job. And that's 3% of the working population of 3 million people. My second question concerns the ITIB. Well, you're responsible for the Technology Talent Admission Scheme. Since 2018, when the scheme was launched, please tell us about the implementation of the scheme. I mentioned once that if a talent admission scheme does not work, you should think about dropping it. It's like the tech voucher scheme. It has already met its target, and that's why it was dropped. So this is my question. My third question concerns the TID. I see that there is information about support for SMEs. What have you done in relation to supporting startups? And what kind of help can people get from the TID? Also, we see that about 1,700 people are now viewing this meeting online. And they say that the biggest challenge they face is Cantonese. I want to know whether there are any online courses that can be offered to new immigrant talent so that they can learn Cantonese in Hong Kong. Also, in relation to starting a business, people need room and venues. Apart from the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park as well as the Cyberport, we don't know whether there are any venues or premises to start a tech business. So I want to know if the government is offering help in relation to this for talents.
Thank you, Chairman, for your question. I'll take your first question first. On the jobless rate, the working population has increased. In 2022, the working population was 3.77 million. And the latest figures show 3.83 million. So we can see that the working population has gone up. Some talents have come to Hong Kong, some haven't yet. Some don't necessarily look for jobs immediately after arriving in Hong Kong. So there may be a difference. We ask 3 standard questions and we also conduct random sampling. That's exactly how we came up with this figure. The overall working population has increased. And there's also an uptick in the number of jobless people in Hong Kong. And I'll give the floor to the ITIB. I'd like to talk about the Technology Talent Admission Scheme Tech Tests. It provides a fast-track arrangement for eligible companies to admit mainland and overseas technology talents. In 2018, there were around 200. And right now, we have a total of 1,120 quotas. The figure increased from 24 in 2018 to 580 in 2024. We mainly focus on INT companies. When they require talents, they apply with us for a quota. Talents then obtain a certificate and then apply to the immigration department. The application time can be streamlined and shortened so they can come to Hong Kong to undertake research and development work as soon as possible. Regarding when these talents will come to Hong Kong, it depends on the family circumstances and factors of these talents. Company business development is also a factor at play. In the 2 years during the COVID pandemic, we noticed a drop in the figures. In 2021 to 22, the figures dropped to double digit. In late October of 2022, we made enhancement to the scheme. So the figures in 2023 to 24 already recovered to the pre-pandemic level. In 2022, the figures more than doubled than the figure in 2022. We focus on stability. That is, there's always a job for these applicants. Before they apply, there is already a job available in Hong Kong. Chairman is concerned about how we provide starting business services for those who would like to come to Hong Kong. There are the Hong Kong STP Corporation and Subport. We also provide a basket of support services. Just now, the Undersecretary mentioned we have a blueprint. In the in the past 1 to 2 years, we have rolled out a lot of support measures. We wish to make available more INT land and provide more accommodation facilities for INT talents. Overall, the ITIB would like to develop the INT industry with talents, and we want to promote the development of the industrial chain so that we can build a more vibrant INT system. The Hong Kong Talent Engage organizes regular Cantonese classes for new immigrant talents. I thank Chairman for your suggestion. We'll consider organizing online Cantonese master classes. We'll consider the possibility of online classes. Thank you. Well, the participation rate should be much higher with online Cantonese learning classes. Just now you mentioned 1,100 quotas have been approved, whereas for TECTAS, only 583 visa applications have been approved. Indeed, the figure is on the low side. The ITIB and the Immigration Department have to monitor the situation. The figures may not be significant. We still need to take care of these talents in order to embrace, respond to, and identify changes. We need to take bold steps to make enhancements to measures. Mr. Lau, I'd like to supplement. Just now we talked about the design of the scheme. The quotas come with a 2-year restriction, so companies might not be in a rush to import talents from outside Hong Kong. From time to time, we review the effectiveness of the scheme. Just now I mentioned there's a high-level conference chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration. We'll take stock of the talent admission schemes, and if need be, we'll make enhancements. Thank you. Agenda item number 2. In the next meeting, we're going to discuss helping new immigrant talents to settle into Hong Kong and learn more about the local culture, including fraud prevention and assistance and channels for asking for assistance. The Secretariat will issue notice afterwards. There being no any other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.